Welcome back to Raised by Giants discussion. I'm your host, Ryder Lee. Welcome any moderators and channel members out there. If you're watching on YouTube or X, or if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, or if you're listening to the replay, welcome to the show. All of my social media links are in the description: Facebook, Instagram, X. Great ways to stay connected and find out about news shows and guest appearances. I finally just decided to rock the Charlie Kirk Rode microphone personal audio. And it's freeing. It feels good. Okay. I don't have a microphone directly in front of my face. I can do all kinds of movements. I got so much more room for activities here and now. So hopefully this works out and I can continue to use this as my audio source. And hopefully Mossad did not plant some sort of bomb inside of this thing that will kill me. I'm just joking. I've had this for like 3 years. I don't think there's any bombs inside of it. But yeah, hopefully this works out and it sounds good and you guys like it. But my documentary, Psychic Agent, the GATE program, has been completed and has been submitted to the streaming platforms. Check the description for the official Psychic Agent, the GATE program, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Subscribe and follow those pages for a teaser trailer that will be released in the coming weeks. I'm fully expecting a release sometime at the beginning of June on Amazon Prime and Apple TV. I'm also going through a company to get DVDs made of Psychic Agent, the GATE program, so you guys will have lots of options to see the movie. If you don't like Amazon, if you don't like Apple TV, or you just like physical media, you'll get a chance to buy a physical copy of the movie from me. And it's always good to have a physical copy of everything. I'm also going to look into getting DVDs made of JFKX and Clockwork Shining as well. So there's a lot to look forward to coming up. Also looking to get posters made for the movie. So we got a lot going on here in the coming weeks and in the coming months. But today we have with us a very special guest. He is a retired commercial and contract pilot who long asserted that he worked for the U.S. military intelligence, CIA connected operations over several decades. According to his own testimony, he enlisted in specialized military operations at Fort Bliss, Texas in 1954, where he was associated with the 4th Army Intelligence Units into the early 1960s. Here to talk with us today, William Tosh Plumlee. Welcome to the show.
Okay, well, thanks for having me. I appreciate being on your program.
No problem. We got a lot going on right now. I've kind of been looking at this thing on. It's kind of random, but Finding Hitler. Have you ever watched that documentary on the History Channel?
Just bits and pieces. Every time I start trying to watch something like that, then something comes up, and I get a bit here, and then about 6 months later, I get another bit. And so, but what do you have in mind on that?
Well, I mean, like the whole thing is like so weird. Like I knew that there was a lot of things with Hitler surviving in the bunker and all of that, and getting out alive, and but I didn't realize that the body that the autopsy was done on was of a 35-year-old woman. That wasn't Hitler's body.
It's like anything, even back then. Conspiracies. In other words, you can take an ant and use a magnifying glass and make a conspiracy out of it. As far as Hitler did this, who killed Abe Lincoln? Were they really killed in the barn, or were they killed in a hayloft, or were they killed? Did they drown crossing a stream? Did they get shot? Did Lincoln get shot from a helicopter? See what I'm getting at? Sometimes a major event, even like JFK, it'll breed thousands of rumors, which if it gets enough push and enough publicity, those rumors become factual for some people. And that opens up debates. And it actually takes away from the real facts behind the incident. Law enforcement deals with that all the time, of having to go through thousands and thousands of leads just to get to one nugget of truth that may break the case. So personally, myself, my background, I've learned to stay away, or at least try to stay away from getting involved in conspiracy type related things, even though I'm right in the middle of one with this book and everything. And and then I try to stay away from politics. I mean, I've got background, very diversified in military, special operations, covert activities, which are all connected with politics. Um, you can get sucked into this kind of stuff, which is actually, in my opinion, a diversion that takes you away from the real nitty gritty of the problem. And in some cases, that's by design. For instance, on a letterhead memo, all you got to do is take a blank agency letterhead memo, and you can write anything on that memo you want to write. And then you can assimilate that memo out through proper channel, or not proper channels, but through channels. And then they pick it up and they pass it to another and they pass it to another, simply because it's on a letterhead memo. Then it becomes the truth, and that is the official verdict. That's what's going on, has gone on with the JFK. That's also what's gone on back in paperclip time, back in Nazis. We brought some of that technology over from Nazi after the war. We adopted some of those psychological warfare programs that the Nazis used. We set up a program out of Nags Head, North Carolina, where we thought we could breed super soldiers. They could walk through walls. They could stay up for 24 hours straight. They were invincible. So this is a form of mind control. Back in those days, if you can control all the communication that goes out to the media, you actually can control the thinking and the actions of the people. That's a program that was used in psychological warfare.
Do you know
With
the name of that program where they were using psychics in North Carolina?
there's 3 or 4 of them. One of them, which was based with drugs, was MK Ultra, and then spring off of MK Ultra was MK Delta, which was much more deadlier than MK Ultra. Illusionary warfare training at Nags Head, North Carolina. That was the name of it. It was known as the defector program, where students were divided up. They had language studies. Some of the students were trained to go as defect in the foreign countries, hoping that they would be picked up by their intelligence and they'd become double agents. And then we would infiltrate into their programs and we would put false information. We did that in Cuba with Batista. We did it after Castro came into power. It's a technique that the CIA uses. Put the narrative, change the narrative. If a particular operation is being exposed by one of your operatives or by a double agent, then you've got to change that narrative. You've got to change the direction that it's going. So the way you do that is you get an official document, or you get an official person, or you get someone that is well known and has a following, and they adopt that procedure, or you brainwash them through sublimination, through psychological warfare, and they work for you. I don't mean to be rattling here and eating up all the time on this, but so,
No, it's really important. I just know that there were several psychic spy programs. They went under different names. There was the one that was made public in '95. Well, declassified in the early 2000s, but made public in '95 after the CIA shut it down, which was Stargate Project, but it went under many different names. I'm currently making a documentary that's all about this, but I had heard that there were other programs that used psychics in like combat, like
oh
where they
yeah,
were like
all
training
right.
psychics to do combat.
Vietnam is a perfect example. I'll give you an example. I don't know if currently, 2 things. In World War II, we used guys out of prison. to train them for special operations. Unconventional warfare was what it was called then. To work behind enemy lines, to infiltrate, go behind enemy lines. How you infiltrated, sometimes it was very unorthodox. For instance, coming up into the Vietnam era, we had a movie was made out of this. The Men Who Stared at Goats
Right.
was a super warrior that allegedly the concept was they could walk through doors. The program that we used to use at NAGSED, we're talking about psychological programs, and it's in the book Deep Cover, Shallow Graves. We cover some of this, multiple stuff in the book Deep Cover. But I sort of lost my thought there for a minute. But one of the things that NAGSED used to do with we would sit and they'd put a glass of water and we'd put a spoon, balance it, put a sugar cube right there on that corner and balance it on a glass. And we would sit back, 9 of us, and we would stare at that spoon for 5, 10 minutes and thinking, I'm going to make it drop in that water. I'm going to make that super cube drop in that water. Sit there, boring, but sit there, and that was a total concentration. Our mind was focused on breaking that thing in there. So, mind control. Then all of a sudden one day, by golly, I'm sitting there staring, thinking, doing it, and you know what happened? That sugar cube fell right off into that water. And I thought, man, I got the secret. I've got mind control. It's not hypnosis. I sit and saw it and I made that thing fall. The third time that I saw that, I happened to catch my instructor just gently bump the table leg, just enough to make that balance fall in the water. So that's manipulation. That's the program. Control the communications, manipulate the narrative, and you'll get results from someone that you want. The other example for illusionary warfare, we got pretty well drunk many times, but anyway, one time at NAGSED, and this guy was sitting next to us, and he says, they give me $10 to walk down the beach, and when I saw a reflection from a mirror in a light, I'm supposed to turn left and walk the other way. And we're sitting there wondering, what is he telling us? Well, we were up on the second floor watching this guy walk down the beach, and they told us, concentrate and make that guy turn to his left. Concentrate. He's coming towards you. You want him to turn to your left. Concentrate. He's going to turn to your left. By golly, after a while, you know what happened? That man turned to his left. We thought we had psychic ability. What was happening? The guy upstairs had a mirror, and he was shining at the guy walking along the beach. When the guy saw the reflection of the mirror, he turned left. Wow, that was our psychic ability. Does that explain anything to you?
It definitely explains what that they're trying to make you believe that you have psychic ability, but I do believe the psychic ability exists.
Oh,
I do believe that it is possible to remove you.
Sublimination. They used it with the back in the 30s and the 40s when TV first come on. Sublimination is there's ways to make people buy product by sublimination in their mind, a form of hypnosis. Um, you can make a person think something by simply the way that you present your narrative. And you'll be walking along the aisle and you'll see Lux video or Lux soap, and you'll see Palmolive. For some reason, you'll pick up the Palmolive soap. You don't know why. But then if you really look around, maybe they've run a tremendous broadcast of 30, 40 commercials, Palmolive soap, Lux Theater. They used to have all that back in the 30s and the 40s. Howdy Doody used to come on at 3:30. They used to have a thing. 7 days a week we open up at 7, and 7 days a week we open till 11. From 7 to 11, from 7 to 11, we got iced drinks, milk, cheese, meat, fish, bread, teas, soup, and nuts. That's why we say shop 7-Eleven. In that commercial, there was three things: soup, nuts, whatever they wanted to buy. There's another one you use through a commercial like this. I know I'm rambling around here and eating up your time, but you're talking about psychological program. Okay, when TV come on and Howdy Doody come on at 3:30, then the first thing, Southern Ice from 7-Eleven started out. Our artist now would deftly describe to show you 1955. You might expect in that bright year a brand new kind of Texas steer. Its steaks were more than ever pleased, for science then will freshly freeze its flavor at its tops and have it handy when you shop 7-Eleven. You go in that 7-Eleven store, 9 chances out of 10, you're going to come out with some meat.
Because you've been programmed to subliminally to whenever you have the opportunity to go and you see that thing, that you're more likely to pick that thing that you've seen 100 times.
That's right. And then when you put that in psychological warfare, you can actually blow up a tank by moving the enemy into a position to take their own tank out if it's used properly. So, I mean, I'm trying to answer your question about, yes, how you use your mind determines the thing. A musician's trick, sleight of hand, all this. You see something, you react to it, and you can't explain it. But there's a code behind it. If you know the codes, you can explain it. If you don't know the codes, it's magic.
Mm.
Anyway, I would get off on all this for eating up all your time. I know you guys in radio and TV are always short on time. You know, short on money and short on time.
Seems to be the problem a lot here. What's going on?
Get them commercials out there, man. You got to make some money.
Some people don't like that, though. They don't like people making money off of doing
They
it.
They don't understand it. I mean, hell, I'm not making any money off this. Unless you want to loan me some or something like that. Checks in the mail, I'll pay you back.
Put in that IOU on that bad boy. So when it comes to your military service and your CIA career, I'm under the impression that there has been this black budget CIA group that has been running around for a really, really long time. I'm sure you're familiar with the Danny Casolaro case. Are you familiar with Danny Casolaro, the octopus murders?
Oh yeah, that, and even before. I go back a long time. I'll go back down. I run away from home when I was 14 years old. Wouldn't go to school. My mom knew all the truant officers by their first name, and so I forged a birth certificate, and I went going to Texas 49th Armored Division. You're talking about black budgets. So anyway, I learned how to drive a Sherman tank at 15. And then I used that to go into the Army at 16, 17, a regular Army, and stationed at Fort Bliss. Then I got involved in a special type program that was trained to take young guys, and this was before Green Beret. This was before Special Forces. We still had the Rangers because that was the old Rangers from World War II. The old OSS boys were our cadres, our drill instructors. And so we were taught a lot of things about black ops, secret movements, how to take over a village, how to fight dirty, how to protect the operation at all costs. So all these things that you're bringing up that they've over years written about, they were started back in World War II, modified, put back into the field, used through Korea in the 50s, coming off into these little brush wars, modified, tweaked around, put back out in the field. So what you're talking about, yes, they exist. So black ops, over the years, some of the guys come out and they write books about what they did. People like you, me, and others, they pick up the books and say, wow, we didn't know this was going on. So yes, it's been going on since before World War II. I'll tell you what, who developed those programs were the Nazis. We developed through Operation Paperclip, brought those guys over to teach us how to fight dirty. The Luftwaffe
Mm.
was a perfect example. These guys used to fly these Luftwaffes and deal 48 straight hours up, popping pills. We adopt the same thing in the 50s with F-86 Sabre jets. Had a lot of mid-air collisions in those days if you look at the record. But the point was, we were programming our military to think they had supernatural powers. And we were popping them pills. We were giving them later LSDs. We started programs like MK Ultra. We started to try to probe the mind to see how far we could develop the mind to do a bunch of crazy things. We thought we had the power. Like I was explaining to you earlier, we were trained to believe. As a man believeth, so he becomes, as the Bible says. So they adopt that program. Well, if I can make you believe you're infallible, and that you can run and charge that machine gun nest and that all the bullets are not going to hit you. For instance, the Indians used to have that with the Apaches were very good. That was one of the reasons the Apaches were so good, because they believed in the spirit, what they would be protect. Put on the whole armor. Put on your spiritual armor. And you won't get hurt. If you really believe that, you'll charge that cavalry and you will be supernatural. Anyway, enough of that.
And you would probably succeed because that's an important part of it is belief.
Well, same guy, a guy running with the football with the five guys chasing him. If he believes he can get by him, he's going to get by him. He's going to be a good star. He's going to get a couple of $1 million because they want to pick him up because he's good. He knows how to get past the defense. He knows how to get the job done. You know, the only reason he can get the job done is because he believes he can do it. So if you can make a person believe that they can do it, you've got a hell of an army there.
Did you ever do any training at Fort Huachuca,
A lot of
in
yeah,
Arizona?
yeah, yeah. I have. Yeah. What kind of training are you making reference to? Recently, drone training's been going on there. We've been developing drones. Our psychological warfare programs in the earlier days headed out of Fort Huachuca. It's now one of the biggest electronic drone facilities there is. That and Sheik Air Force Base out by Los Angeles. We actually fly in drones out of bases there that we're flying them over in Afghanistan through satellite. So there's a lot of stuff goes on at Fort Huachuca. Why did you bring up Fort Huachuca?
I'm just curious because to me it seems like that a lot of the people that have been to Fort Huachuca or ever stationed at Fort Huachuca were never officially at Fort Huachuca. You know what I mean? It's like this very top secret military installation that nobody really wants to
Well,
talk about.
that's a military training base for the MPs for one thing. It's also the headquarters for electronics. It's a communications center. It's very hush hush. There's a lot of experimental stuff goes on there that you don't know about. It's not an easy base to get on and off of. You're pretty well monitored, but uh, there's all kinds of conspiracies that originate out of Fort Huachuca and Cheek Air Force Base and Fort Bliss and Bragg and the old Fort Ord. Uh, I I don't get involved in chasing those rabbits. That's where they go. You can sit here, and that's designed purposely to make you go chase 1,000 rabbits, go into 1,000 rabbit holes. You miss the big rabbit hole. What's really going on? Well, this guy over here, his name's Jake. He knows the hip bone's connected to the thigh bone. That thigh bone's connected to the leg bone. That leg bone's connected to the knee bone. Ezekiel is out there. Do you know who really set up the assassination of JFK? Moses. Moses did it. Now, let me tell you a story about what I just said. I told that to a guy that was a very heavy conspiracy nut. And I said, this went through the whole thing. And I said, you know who did it? Moses. You know what come back to me as factual? That Plumlee said the Mossad Israel killed Kennedy. You get my drift here?
Mm.
I said the hip bone's connected to the leg bone. You can trace your lineage all the way back to Moses and the 12 tribes of Israel. And then suddenly I said Moses killed Kennedy. That the Israelites were responsible for Kennedy's death. Do you see how things get twisted? There's a little story that kids used to do. Whisper in this kid's ear. That kid would whisper what you said in the next kid's ear. Then the next kid would whisper what that said there. Then at the end of the results, you don't even know, it's not anywhere near the original starting of the program. And that's what we have with conspiracies.
Right. It's the game of telephone.
That's it.
Yep.
So anyway, I don't know if I'm sitting here rattling around here. You know, I'm like everybody else. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
I mean, I think that you do know what you're talking about. I mean, you know, a lot of people look at, you know, counterintelligence people or black ops people as people that you can't trust or that they're not telling the truth. And I think that there is suspicion on one hand, but on the other hand, they got to be careful with what they say, right? Like you got to be able to read in between the lines of what they're talking about. That's the way that you get the real information.
Okay, military intelligence, Pentagon, you got to be very careful because you're always walking the minefield, the third rail. You got to stay out of the minefield and you got to stay away from the third rail. That's what it's all about when you're in black operations and you're doing covert work. For instance, you're working with a type of people that's pretty hardcore. I'll give you an example. One of the crews that I work with, we're like the Dirty Dozen. They'd kill you in a heartbeat just to watch you squirm. That's the psychological program that some of these people have. Really sick people. We breed lone wolves. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. Today, our society, we as a society, breed lone wolves. We breed lone wolves by what comes out of our mouth. Our leadership breeds the lone wolves that are doing the shooting, coming out of Fort Huachuca, coming out of wherever, coming out whatever. The lone guy out here, the two young kids that just did their little deal, where they be lone wolves or what? We breed them. You know how we breed them? By the rhetoric that comes out of our mouth, our elders and our leaders' mouth. If you breed hate and poison, you're going to get hate and poison back. Whatever you throw out there is like a boomerang. It's going to come back at you. So we're going to have more assassins. We're going to have more nuts running around out here. And here's the thing. Most of these lone assassins and these lone wolves, they want to identify with something. They have to have identity. If they find a leadership that they can identify with, they will do anything that they think that that leadership wants them to do. They become like a secret army of lone wolves that will carry out assassinations, and they don't even know they're programmed to do it. And that comes from leadership. That comes from what we say. I'm going to blow your ass away. I'm going to make a red glow in the eastern sunset. I'm going to set off bombs. I'm going to make you walk on the third rail. I hate you. There was a time when we could sit down with our neighbors and we could negotiate and we could solve our problems. Today, we just pull out a gun and blow him away. Be done with it. Let God sort him out. Am I making sense to you?
It almost seems like it's wrapping back around to the old West days. You know what I mean? That's kind of how things were back in those days. If you had a disagreement and an argument with someone, you just whip out your gun and you have a duel.
My gun's bigger than yours.
Yeah.
If you can't have fun with yourself, who are you going to have fun with?
That's right. I'm under the impression that there are more militaries than the ones that we know about, the public militaries. I'm convinced that there are more three-letter organizations than the ones that we know about. Can you confirm or deny if there are more intelligence communities than the ones that are front-facing, and are there more militaries in operation within the United States government than the six that we know about that and
Well,
are familiar with?
evil breeds evil. That's where we're at right now. We're in a war of good and evil. As simple as that. So you talk about groups out there. Groups will find their own, just like oil and water. You can't mix oil and water. Groups will find their own level. Lone wolves will find other lone wolves, and they become an organization like you're asking about. Are they out there? Sure. Some of them aren't organized, but yet they are. It's like the karate. It's the same but different. Uh, they're there, but they haven't got together yet. But then all of a sudden, with new media and so on like that, they get together. And then they become an entity unto themselves. They don't even know what in the hell they're doing and why they're doing it, but they are doing it, but they're evil. So they're little pockets all over this country, little lone wolves bouncing around, not knowing what they're doing, but doing evil. We're in a war between good and evil. And my opinion, this country is in the middle of a coup. A political coup, maybe, but we're in a war, a political coup. We're in a war, a coup of good and evil. Our young people, they don't know up from down, but yet they're the ones that's going to save this country. So I'm not going to get on the soapbox there, and I'm not going to get into politics. But you asked me, are they group? Yes, there's many, many groups out there, whether they're organized with a name or not. It's always like this. Who is the anonymous they? They're the Trilateral Commission. They're the New World Order. They're this, they're that. They're the ABC. You got to put a name on evil. You see what I mean? But everything like that is evil. That's a spirit. And that spirit comes in and absorbs individuals. Comes from our teaching, what our elders teach. Go back to the Comanche, go back to the Sioux, go back to the Indians. What did they teach? There used to be a thing that the braves would go out on a mountaintop, and when the time of the little leaves, when the moons and the suns were all aligned in order, and they'd go out to this sacred place called Tanasha, and they'd have to sit there for 3 days and 3 nights. And if their heart was not right with the ancient ones, then they could not be accepted into the tribe, and they were cast out. What that meant was you go out and the coyotes didn't howl, the birds didn't fly, and the moon rose, and the hawks were quiet, and the stars were all in alignment. And you had to sit there and wait for the instructions of the ancient ones to come and give you wisdom and knowledge. And if you made it for 3 days and 3 nights without being scared to death, as a drum brave at 12 seasons, then you'll be accepted into the tribe. You'll become a warrior. Does that make sense to you? So there's a purification ritual. We now have lost our way. We don't have the patriotism. We don't have a lot of things. Anyway, I'm getting off here. Bring me back to reality.
Well, how were they effectively able to cover up your CIA service? Because from my understanding, there's not really any
All
proof
right.
that you worked for the CIA directly, right?
Well, I've testified to 5 committees. Um, there, the best way to explain this, when you say there is no record, there is a record. For instance, fuel receipts of aircraft that we've fueled up. But let me put it this way. I'm going to give you a blank document. It's just a letterhead memo. United States federal government, FBI. You write on that thing whatever you want to write about yourself, about me, or about someone else. Then you give it to your colleague, and then you let him give it to someone else. And then they give it to someone else. And then after a while, what's over on that letterhead memo, that's the official verdict. So when you come up to something like the Warren Commission and you want to blame one guy for doing all that, all you got to do is just put enough of it on a letterhead memo, forget the documentation, just write your own narrative and assimilate that narrative through many, many different channels, and it becomes factual. Am I explaining anything to you? That's what's happened in my case, and many of us of the 85 guys, starting with Private Eugene B. Dinkin, who come out with the information that launched the Pentagon team to go in to abort the assassination of JFK. That's exactly what happened to him. He was a cryptologist. He put it two and two together through leaks on recruiting assassins in foreign countries to carry out an operation in Dallas, Texas, and he went and tried to report it. Well, whoever he reported it to wrote all kinds of stuff on the letterhead memos, sent it out to the point that they put him in a damn lockup because they thought he was nuts. But Kennedy got killed 2 days after he had made his report. So anybody can here, looking at me or whatever, can go and check this out. Private UBG Dinkin made a report. Kennedy's going to be hit in Dallas, Texas on November the 28th. My gosh, the guy's psychic. No, he took enough codes, magic, put it together, and found out what was happening is that we, our own government, was recruiting assassins to take out foreign leaders, not just JFK. We had a program known to take out foreign leaders. Trujillo, Batista, Arbenz. The people that did not agree with our policies at that time, take them out. We couldn't go in and kill them. Get someone else to kill them, or they have a bad accident, or they die of old age. Or let's do one step further. Let's go technical. Let's do a heart attack gun. That way you can shoot them with a little heart attack gun, and they have a heart attack and they die. Church committee covered that up. Not covered it up, uncovered it. We had a heart attack gun. We went into foreign countries and took people out. It's called the assassination of foreign leaders. The church committee started investigating that. They found out. Victor Marchetti found out all about the School of Illusionary Warfare, Psych Ops. Sidney Gottlieb run the MK Ultra program that drove Frank Olson nuts through LSD before the hippie movement in San Francisco. So when you talk about this kind of stuff, you got to go back to the history. You got to know where it starts. You got to know why it started. And it all comes back to control. If I can control your mind, I can control what you do. I can make you do things that you wouldn't normally do. I can make you shoot your mother if I wanted to. There's an old saying, one time we were sitting around talking, a bunch of old guys from the OSS, and he said, hell, I'll kill your mother. You give me $1.50, I'll shoot your mother, and I'll give you change. The other guy says, well, would you shoot your mother? And he says, well, if you give me enough money, and I'll get, oh yeah, he said, I'll shoot her. Hardcore. Teaching. Where did that come from? That the man would believe that the mission was more important than his loved ones, that he'd take them out. That has to come from psychological warfare. It has to be programmed. Today, we're programming lone wolves to go out, not even knowing what the hell they're doing, and take out certain people. And you disguise that maybe you got one guy you want to take out, you take out 5 around him to make it look like whatever. Well, anyway, so much. But let's go back. The book Deep Cover, Shallow Graves is breadcrumbs that touches on everything we're talking about. You know, follow me? You haven't read the book. You haven't seen the book. So the operations that you brought up, some of them are covered in that book. Now, they're not just covered with allegations. They're covered with documentations, leading you where to go so that you can prove to yourself what really happened rather than what's on the letterhead memo. You just
So
said
whenever you would go on one of these black ops missions, would you be briefed on exactly what it was that you were
no,
supposed to be doing?
not all the time. I was a co-pilot. I was a young guy, 20 years old, running guns into Cuba, stealing National Guard armory stuff. And I'm talking about 56, 57. I was National Guard, and we had keys to get into that. Not me, but I was a pilot. We had keys to get into National Guard armories, and we would take the weapons and stuff and load them on our aircraft, fly them down the Marathon Key off Plum Island into the Sierra Madre to a little old guy who we call Castro Oil, Fidel Castro, in 1956. We supplied him with guns, and at the same time, our foreign policy was set up through the Pan American Treaty because of a sovereign government. We had to supply guns, tanks, and airplanes to Batista. So Batista is using our planes, guns, and aircraft to take out a little old rebel who has 56 guys that just shot up a bunch of barracks. We're using our weapons to take him out while we have a covert operation of CIA, like me as a co-pilot, flying plane loads of weapons to a little rebel in the Sierra Madre Mountains. Now, what does that look like to you? We are supplying both sides. We get involved in a conflict. We escalate that conflict, and we furnish weapons to both sides of that conflict. Wait a minute, why would we do that? Money. Money in those weapons. What about that money in those weapons? Well, okay, I'm going to give you 3% of the weapons that I put on my airplane. I'm putting $500,000 of weapons on my airplane. You're running for office. You need campaign contributions, right? Well, you set it up to where I can get more airplanes from Davis-Monthan Air Force Base surplus so I can put in my operation. And I'll run some cocaine and I'll run some guns and I'll give you a percentage to go into your campaign contribution so you can keep your position. Let me go one step further. We used to run politicians out of Miami to go down to Havana on gambling junkets for the weekend. Wow. Havana was wide open. Prostitution, drugs, and gambling. Our politicians, we can get free passes tied in with mafia, organized crime. Same time as running out of Las Vegas. Same thing with Bugsy Siegel. Same people running organized crime out of Havana. Our politicians, buddy, we fly them down there in aircraft, cutout companies, and they party for the weekend. Now, here's something I'm going to tell you that you might not like, but I just don't want my things acting up. Some of these girls, 14, 15, 16, 17, were homeless, orphans on the street in Havana. They would tie in with these guys. So then we found out that they were transporting some of these little girls back on our airplanes to go to a place called the Quorum Club in New Jersey. And that club run a prostitution ring of young girls from Havana that our politicians brought back on our airplanes. My pilot, Rojas, said, I'm going to start asking for IDs, that these girls have to be over 20. So now, wait a minute. What does that sound like?
Sounds like Epstein.
Check it out. Quorum Club. Bobby Baker served 19 months for running girls on a whorehouse a half block away from the Corn Club. How did the Corn Club get their liquor? From airplanes, flying Methuselah rum from Havana, supplied by the mafia, organized crime, put on our aircraft and brought back to the play. Okay, anyway, I'm getting off here. But
What year was this?
1956, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, all the way up to Kennedy. Kennedy knew about it. There was a German, well, anyway, just have your listeners go check it out. Corn Club, Bobby Baker. You'll find out they had German ladies, prostitutes, getting information from our elected officials because it was known as the Gentleman's Club. It wasn't just where you walk in. You had to be a member. You had to be sponsored by somebody. Now, okay, what did I just say here? I said there's a special club that was set up in the 50s and the 60s by our politicians out of Washington, D.C. They would go down to Havana, pick up little women, bring them back, farm them out at the Corn Club, bring liquor and stuff back to supply the liquor. And you had to have a reference or a sponsor to get in to be a member of the Gentleman's Club, which had a whorehouse. And they stocked the whorehouse with, I'm sorry about using the language, but they stocked it with little girls,
underage women.
with underage women. Now, okay, where did you hear that at? You heard it from Tosh Plumlee, alleged CIA operative, a guy that doesn't know crap about shit from Shinola. Okay? A guy that's waiting on us, sitting on there on an elephant's ass, waiting for a pimple to pop. That kind of stuff. So we're a pretty crooked people. Not the people, but we are. Some of our elected officials were just as corrupt back then as they are now. Why do you think they won't release records? Because it will expose the sins that they've been involved with for over 60 years. Anyway,
what's really interesting about this is the Quorum Club is also known as Q Club.
Well, there we go. Read 1,000 things into it. The point is, it works and is tied to money and drugs, cocaine. Let me ask you one question. If you sit right there and you looked in this camera and you told the federal government you run 30 tons of cocaine in this country and C-130s to military bases, what would happen to you?
Well, I'm not really sure because I'm not in the military. Are you saying that if I was in the military and I was doing that?
I'm just saying, you're a civilian, you're not military,
Oh,
but you sit and you tell somebody, you tell a federal officer, I'll just run 30 tons of cocaine in your country over a 6 months period and C-130s. What are you going to do?
You would expect some sort of investigation at the least.
Well, not if it's sanctioned.
Right.
Not if you're getting 3 to 8% return money on your campaign contributions through cutout companies and through slush funding. Set up your shell corporation, do it legal, and then fund it through illegal money, drugs and guns. So this isn't just Fast and Furious. Guns to Mexico, guns to Guatemala, MiGs being sold to Nicaragua, all documented. So that's what they don't want out in the public. They don't want those. Do you realize that Nicaragua had 15 MiGs? This was before the missile crisis. I can give you a document that shows that we took Cuban trainees to fly those MiGs in Nicaragua. We had a Cuban Missile Crisis. At the same time, we were putting MiGs in Nicaragua, according to the own FBI document and the CIA document recently released. George Oneidas, just recently released, was a PSYOPs operative out of JM Wave. But for 60 years, the CIA and the FBI said he didn't exist. that the operatives that mentioned his name, his code names, they fabricated his story. Have your listeners go back and check what happened in the last 3 months when the CIA actually admitted they even gave him a medal. And they filtered him into the House Select Committee on the Assassination to clean up anything that would take away from the lone gunman. Also, check your audience, check this out. J. Edgar Hoover sent a directive to the Dallas Police Department, to the Dallas Police Department and the SA SACs of Dallas, FBI, to destroy all the records pertaining to Lee Harvey Oswald. One of the records was Lee wrote a letter, "Please leave my wife alone." They were threatening to retaliate Marina back with her daughter to Russia if she didn't admit that Lee shot Kennedy. Bingo. Now, you hear that from Plumlee. My name's Robert Tosh Plumlee. I'm a BSer. I'll just give you a whole bunch of crap. Go check it out. Let your spirit testify to your spirit if I'm telling the truth or not. My point is this. We don't check things out. Whatever the federal government tells us, whatever our leadership tells us, we accept it at face value and we don't hold them accountable when they're wrong. And when they lie to us, we don't hold them accountable.
I think that's changing right now, though. I think people are really wising up to what's going on. I think that is definitely changing. Now, I
Well,
want to go back. I want to go back really quickly to this what did you call it? This club, the Quorum Club. How long did this go in operation? Is it still going on?
these kind of things. Look, if it's a money maker and it's successful, yes, it will go on, but it'll change at a migrate. Just like I told you, it's an operation. Put it on the shelf for a while, let it cool off. Then, when the circumstances, then take it off shelf, dust it, tweak it, put it back out in the field. It works. It works because it brings money into your coffer. How long did it go on? Check out Bobby Baker back in there. I mean, now with the internet, you don't have to wait 30 days to get a reply. Just run it through. Bobby Baker, Quorum Club. There's your answer. Now we got this AI. It's like any tool. If you use it right, it's good. If you use that tool wrong, you're going to get hurt. You see what I'm getting at? Same way with the internet. The internet is great if you use the tool right. But if you use it wrong, you're going to get in trouble. If you use electric tool wrong, you can kill yourself. If you use the internet wrong, you can kill yourself. If you use AI wrong, you can kill yourself or kill other people. We're in a crazy age right now. Anyway, enough of Plumlee's book, whatever.
So, if you weren't always aware of these, like what you were supposed to be doing on these black ops missions, how did you know that that was your
Real
mission
fast,
of
real
the
fast. I know you got
Kennedy
time.
assassination?
Got time. I'm gonna go in. How did I get in Dallas? How did I see the man's head blown off? Was I operational? Here's the story, real fast. I was a co-pilot on a flight that was originated out of the Pentagon to take a team to Dallas. I didn't know what the hell they were doing. I had two friends that was in Cuba with me. One of them was Sergio, and that Sergio got me out of the swamps. That guy got my code name Zapata. Velma Espin, and later married Raul Castro. Big story. A lot of stories here. But that's my lineage. That's where I come from, 1956, running around after a plane crash in Cuba, trying to get the hell out of there. And then Sergio with Velma comes up and they get me out of the swamps, and I lost my shoe. And they said Zapata. That's how I got a code name, Zapata. But no Belcher Oil Company or Bush Oil and all the crap. Simple as that. I was running around, so I go back to the rebel camp, and then Fidel Castro gives me a hat and gives me a cup of coffee and give me a shoe. Shoes. I had one shoe. I lost one shoe. Velma Esplin, later known code name MS 267. Her name was code name Deborah. I sit at a Mexican hut. I'm not a Mexican hut, but a hut on the jungle and watched her wrap dynamite with the duct tape and set fuses. She was my friend to the day she died in 206. She headed up the women's movement in Havana. She married Raul Castro. They had a bunch of kids. Good lady, fine lady. Raul Castro's 94 years old, and we just arrested him for murder on the brothers. I used to fly those pamphlets in there. We used to drop pamphlets not over Havana, outside Havana. We never violated their airspace or their sovereignty of the land. We flew 9,000 feet and pushed pamphlets into the trade winds to blow over Havana. That's the story. This brothers shot down, a MiG shot down two brothers, two Skymaster airplanes because the markings had bled through. Well, anyway, it's another story there. And that's
That's the original counterintelligence operation, right? You would fly these pamphlets over other countries that have mis and disinformation on them, correct?
And we would take photographs of the area and we'd use that to drop a deal. So that was propaganda. Like I said earlier, the first thing you do, you capture the radio stations, you put out your own propaganda. Those pamphlets, Germans did this in World War II. We did it with Cuba. We did it with Batista. We did it with Castro. So, but the point was, Castro said that we were flying over Havana. We never flew over Havana. Castro said that they wanted to put out a 12-mile limit, and it was a 3-mile limit. International did not accept a 12-mile limit. The brothers went into a 3-mile, 4-mile limit. They were 6 miles outside Cuba. Two MiGs come out and chased them 13 miles offshore and shot them down, killed them. That's the story. It's breaking right now in the paper. We just charged Raul Castro with murder on those boys that got killed. Friends, we're flying those missions. What are they flying? That's the flotilla. Those people were coming out trying to escape Cuba, and they were drowning in the Florida Straits. And the brothers' rescue was dropping rafts and food and water to those people when they got chased by a MiG. The MiG pilot later thought it was a raid because of the markings of the Skymasters as they got from Miranda Air Park. They hadn't completely painted them, and it bled through, and you could still see the star. And it looked like an official U.S. Air Force airplane, according to the MiG pilot. And he fired on it because it was in Cuban airspace. The MiG pilot recognized 12-mile limit. The International recognized 3-mile limit. The Skymaster was 6 miles. Now, there's your story. This is current. So now we arrest this guy for murder of shooting down those two planes. The first one was shot down, and an hour later, the second was shot down. The second one was shot down 5 miles further close to Key West. You know how we know that? Because of the Key West balloon that was flying that took the pictures. See, we don't know that yet. They haven't released that. They will in a few days. But the pictures tell the tale. But the information that came out of Cuba was that we flew over Havana. We violated their airspace. We went beyond their 12-mile limit. And we dropped pamphlets over Havana. It's not true. Planes never even got inland. They were shot down before they got there. So now, that happened in 1996. So now, after all these years, we filed charges on Raul Castro for murder. Am I talking out of school here?
No, it makes sense.
It's true. This is current. This is happening today. So Cuba tells the international committees that we violated their airspace and we were over Havana bombing their refineries, which is true. We had some mercenaries that did that. Frank Sturgis was a good friend of mine. I flew with Frank Sturgis over inside Cuba. Anyway, I'm getting off base here. I'm getting into areas that I'm not supposed to get into.
No, you're completely right. I mean, here's the Washington Post article right here. I'll bring it up on the screen so everyone can see here. Well, it wants me to pay. Wants me to pay to view the article. Of course it does. Okay, we'll do
Well,
Fox News
the
ones
point
here.
is this: we have to start paying attention. We have to start doing something besides sitting here getting these rabbit holes. I made a statement. Maybe I shouldn't say it. I don't know if I can say it on the air or not, but it's about rabbit holes. And I made the statement that we have our heads so deep in rabbit holes that the only thing showing is our AH. Does that make sense to you?
Our asshole.
Okay, good. You said it. So our heads go, in other words, we are led to go jump in these rabbit holes, put our heads so damn deep in these rabbit holes that the only thing showing is our asshole. Now, you know what I mean by that? We get wrapped up in what's in the bottom of that rabbit hole and we miss the who dug the rabbit hole.
It's because nobody knows what to do, Tosh. Like there's we can't believe in the political institutions anymore. We know that both sides are just as corrupt.
Oh,
So this is the way that
what can we
people.
do as American people? We can do what we used to do. Look what we did in World War II. I mean, I tell the story, and my essence of time, I don't know how much time we got, but I'll tell the story. When I was a kid, 6, 7 years old, 1945, Roosevelt died. I remember the school, every morning we used to gather around in a circle around the flagpole, and we would put our hand over our heart, and we would pledge allegiance to the flag as we slowly raised the flag up the flagpole. Roosevelt died, and my dad was crying and taking me to school, and they were raising the flag, and everybody stopped on the road and got out of their car and put their hand over their heart as the American flag was being raised. If you did that today, somebody'd shoot you. There was another incident at Highland Park Pharmacy on Knox Street in Travis, in Dallas, Texas. And that's where all the servicemen in World War II used to bring their pictures of their ships and airplanes, and they would sign them, and they stuck them on the wall. And the wall was full of B-17s and ships. And I mean, the patriots, they loved their ship. That was their home. They loved their airplane. That was their home. In other words, they loved their service. That was them. Anyway, one time, there's this, what they call a 4F'er. He didn't serve. He couldn't, he had bone spurs. So he couldn't be in the service. So anyway, he dropped the American flag on the floor at Highland Park Pharmacy. And a Marine that had just come back from Saipan literally beat the hell out of that guy for dropping the American flag on the floor, for showing disrespect to the flag. Now, maybe that's a little extreme, but the guy's laying there pretty bloody because a Marine kicked his butt because he showed disrespect for the American flag. Now, look what we got today.
Yeah, you got people that can freely burn the flag and not have any repercussions, or nobody really says anything or bats an eye. I mean,
So
it's been the thing for a long time. I mean, but
you
that's a
asked
part of
what
the demoralization process that the United States has gone through. I mean,
you asked what we can do.
Yuri Bezmenov in the KGB defector talking about how you completely subvert an entire country, and that's the way you do it. You demoralize them. You take them. It's what was the four-step plan? There's a whole plan to this, and it's been a plan for a really long time. Like everything has been set
Let
up.
me say it. Let me say it this way: if you don't have respect for yourself, how can you have respect for this country? You understand what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
Where are we now? We don't respect ourselves. We don't respect our brothers. We don't respect our society. We won't stand up for what we believe because we have no belief. Anyway, so now, see, I'm getting into areas here that I say I don't want to get into. But truth and truth, what do? We have to get back to making our brothers accountable for what they do. In other words, look, apathy has destroyed this country. That's where it's at. Apathy. We are desensitized, and that's a program. We're desensitized to accept what is happening. When a man blows another man away, or a woman, or whatever, on the street, that's perfectly okay. There was times when if there was a shooting in another city 100 miles away, it made major news. Now we have shooting a half block away, and it doesn't faze anybody. It's acceptable. We're desensitized. Apathy has destroyed this country.
But that also gets into movies, that gets into video games, that wraps back around to this subliminal programming that we were talking about in the beginning of this show.
Education. You destroy the education system, what are you going to get? You destroy the education system through whatever. If if you don't look it up in a encyclopedia and take the time, I mean, now you don't have to do it. Well, anyway, not going to get into that. But our political structure has destroyed our institution because of greed and money and drugs. In other words, prostitution, drugs, money, guns. Bingo, that's our society. But look what we breed. Assassins. 12, 13, 14, 16, 19-year-old kids think it's perfectly all right to go out and just, oh yeah, I don't agree with you, I'll just shoot you. Or I don't have anything to do, I'm bored, so I'm going to get me an AK-47 and I'm going to go shoot up the town. Or I am so starved for affection and to be knowledge, I want someone to recognize me. I want my name in the paper, so I'm going to go shoot somebody. Am I talking off base here, or am I talking facts?
Well, I think that is a part of it. I think another part of it is just straight up mind control. They want that type of thing to happen because it is a part of this four-pronged attack, which is demoralization, destabilization, crisis, and normalization. So all they have to do is do a few of these that are real, and then they set back, and then the actual loonies go out and do it.
If I wanted to take over your country, the first thing I'm going to do is take over your education system. I'm going to start out young. I'm going to get your 4, 5, 6-year-old kids, and I'm going to start. We used to get educated at home. We used to have an education system that worked. We used to respect each other. Anyway, I'm getting off on the craziest tangent here. I mean,
then you have the kids nowadays that are literally beating their teachers. Like I see the videos online of kids just slapping the shit out of their teachers for absolutely no reason. Like it's gotten so crazy.
And again, there shows no accountability. And you carry that all the way up to us adults. We don't show any accountability when these politicians lie to us, when these politicians run their special ops, when these politicians bring little girls back and whore them out to older people and then hide it and lie to us about it. And I'm not just talking about what's just recently happened. I'm talking about going on for over 60 years. In other words, Quorum Club is not the only whorehouse run by our politicians in this country. Do you want to understand why they won't release those documents? And do you understand why they won't release the document? Look, there's 17,000 documents on me in the Pentagon archive files. Why won't they release them? I'm challenging them right now on your camera. Why don't you release those Plumlee? My name's Plumlee, by the way. And I wrote a book called Deep Cover Shallow Graves. Release my damn documents. There's an executive order out there. I'm going to put myself on point. I'm not going to point to someone else over here and say, release his documents. No, hell, let's start with Plumlee. Let's start with his book, Deep Cover Shallow Graves. Let's start with him looking into your camera and say, hey, Pentagon, release my damn files. because you got an order there from the President of the United States, your commander-in-chief, release the damn files. And then we'll find out, did you really send a team to Dallas to stop the killing of a president? Was the FBI, through J. Edgar Hoover, had prior knowledge that a team was in Dallas to kill the president and they didn't do anything? Is that what those documents are all about? Why is it so important to assassinate people like Plumlee on letterhead memos rather than just say he's full of crap? Don't pay any attention to him. He's fabricated this whole story for 60-something years. He's testified to 3 committees. He's written a book. It's all in the book. Read the book. Deep Cover, Shallow Graves. It was released on April the 21st this year. It's doing pretty good, but I can tell it's doing pretty good by the nature of the questions that are coming back, which you ask some of them. You're very good. You're very good at what you do, you know. But
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I just got one more for you, and then I'm going to let you go. So, back to this idea that you don't really know what was going on exactly because you're the pilot, right? You're not the one that's actually out there executing this stuff in the field. You're the one that's flying these people into the operation for them to go out and do the thing that you're flying them to do. How do you know that the mission to Dallas to stop the assassination of the president wasn't the people that were there to do the actual assassination? So, in other words, how do you know that you weren't the one that was flying the people in to do the actual assassination?
Okay, the team that I flew in, after the deal, the way they act. When I got back on the plane at Redbird, and some of them were there, some of them wasn't there. A couple of them that was on the plane wasn't there. But anyway, I got back out there. The guys were crying. They had their head. They couldn't look at each other. I walked through in other words, I wrote about this one time. I walked from the back of the C-47 or the DC-3, from the back to the front. And Sergio looked at me and Sturgis looked at me and he said, and he's got tears in his eyes. And in other words, and my pilot, Rojas, he said, just get in here, buckle up. It's a Cuban thing. And I said, oh, what happened? Nobody was happy. We'd flown many, many missions, and if they were successful, they come back slapping each other on the back and laughing, and they cuttered it off. They completed their mission. This mission was a total failure from the very beginning. This mission was an inside job, and they knew it. They were outed from day one, outed. They knew it. So you asked me how I knew that there was a team. If there was a team that went in there to kill Kennedy, in fact, here's the story. In the book, Deep Cover, Shallow Graves, I went one step further. I released some very sensitive classified information, and I was told, don't you do it because it's an ongoing investigation. The FBI, and I'm looking in your camera right now, and I'm putting myself on point. The FBI told me, you can't do that. It's an ongoing investigation. It's classified. You testified in 1976 to the church committee, and you told this story, and you drew a map of where the triangulation shooting were, and you said there was another team on the south side. You can't, in other words, that's under SEAL. That's under a SAP program. That's under a NORFOR. You're releasing classified information if you put that in your book. It's in a book. Now, if they did come against me, they got to do full disclosure. That means they got to give my attorney every damn thing they got on me if they file charges for me releasing that classified information. The classified information is this. After the shooting, the North team caught 2 of the shooters going across the railroad track. And Bowers Tower saw him, the man in the tower. Saw him. They got him, put him in a car, blew their brains out, and buried him over by the ballpark, Trinity River. Now, I'm talking to your camera, and I'm telling classified information. I'm not supposed to say, oh, that's just conspiracy stuff. I read it on a letterhead memo That's Plumlee's fabrication. No, it come out in the Dallas Times Herald years later when they tore down the ball deal and they were at Jefferson and Katy Street Viaduct and they made the freeway going through there. They dug up human bones. Do you know how they covered that story? They said they were Indian bones from an Indian burial ground. But the tribe of the Indians, which was the Comanche and the Chickasaw, said there was no burial grounds on the Trinity River. They wouldn't bury their heir there where the river flooded. There was no burial ground. So then the Dallas Times Herald, the story was killed because it was an ongoing investigation. To this day, that's been 60-something years ago. 1967, the stories in the book, Deep Cover, Shallow Graves, I don't have time here, I know you've got to go. But the stories in the book, now somebody says, well, my gosh, this guy's got a hell of imagination. He really fabricates. Oh, just check it out. Ralph Pizzullo is my co-writer. We did nothing but put breadcrumbs out for my readers and our readers to follow. Breadcrumbs leading to the documentation of the letterhead memos that substantiate what we said, what I said, in closed door session and open door session to the Senator Church Committee and Senator Kerry's committee and Senator Hart, Gary Hart. So it's on record. It's not something that this guy pulled out of the sky and wrote about. No, I joined the Army when I was 14 years old. I got DD-214s. I'm a 100% disabled veteran. Wait a minute. What, a 100% disabled veteran? I mean, this guy, he's a bullshitter. See what I'm getting at? Now,
well, they love to discredit people. I mean, that's the name of the game too.
In this case, if they come out, the Pentagon, on those files I just requested to be released, and it shows that the Pentagon contacted the CIA and the CIA acted as logistical support and took a pilot, a co-pilot, 20-something years old, flying with a Rojas, a Cuban pilot that flew for Regina Air Cargo, and Plumlee flew for Riddle Airlines and Interstate Mountain Aviation, which later determined through hearings to be CIA front companies, went in with CIA logistical support to stop the assassination of a president from intelligence that they had received from a private Dinkin in France. Dinkin later was put in a mental ward, discredited. Everybody that was associated in one form or another through J. Edgar Hoover was discredited on letterhead memos written by special agents of the FBI. I'll say it again. Special agents of the FBI, through the directions of J. Edgar Hoover, doctored letterhead memos to change the narrative before it went to the Warren Commission. Information about the abort team coming out of the Pentagon with CIA logistical support was not in those letterhead memos and was not sent to the House Select Committee on the Assassination through Senator Congressman Downing and Senator Schweiker. Didn't reach them. Who withheld it? The Federal Bureau of Investigation, Department of Justice withheld information to the Warren Commission about what I just told you. Now, at this late date, can you prove that? Well, okay, let me back up here real fast since I'm going to get my butt in trouble here, already have. Jonatas. Jonatas didn't exist, according to the letterhead memos. Jonatas was a figment of Plumlee's and others' imagination. There was no Jonatas that was in charge of psych ops, according to CIA. Just recently, one of the investigations just got the CIA came out, readers check it, CIA, remit, they lied. Their Jonatas was a high-ranking PSYOPs, had worked at Nags Head, North Carolina, illusionary warfare, worked with Lee Harvey Oswald. Just came out. FBI doesn't want that information out because what they did, they withheld it. They can't afford to release those documents. Because what would happen if it was proven through their own documentation that is sealed, court sealed, with an SAP program with NOFOR all over it? If they released it, what would happen? They withheld the information from the Warren Commission. J. Edgar Hoover doctored the files. J. Edgar Hoover notified the Dallas FBI to destroy all Lee Harvey Oswald files, destroy the letter that Lee wrote complaining about them harassing his wife, threatening to deport her if she didn't confess that Lee shot Kennedy. Now, this is on tape, right? Play it to the CIA. Play it to the FBI. Now, bring me in front of a judge, because when you do, you've got to bring the documents to support your claim against me for releasing classified information. Now, attorneys out there know what I just said. So come on, bring the charges on me. They call that false accusations against the government. FAG, F-A-G charge. First I thought they were calling me gay. And I got a little bit upset with them, but, look.
Why don't they name that something different? Why do they got to name it that?
Well, well, I got documents to prove I'm a nut. Anyway.
FAG charge. Holy crap.
I know you got to go. We run out of time on all this stuff, But anyway, sometimes you don't want to know the things you know. Back in the days, we used to have a thing like, you asked me a few questions. How do you know this? How do you know that? There was a time when we used to say, hey, man, don't tell me that. Don't tell me what you're doing. I don't want to know. It's like when you're in Vietnam and a new guy comes on, you don't want to get to know him because he may be blown away tomorrow. You don't want to get to like anybody. You don't want to know anything about what somebody else is doing. You don't want to be involved. You don't want to know the things you know. And you sure as hell don't want some guy bragging, hey, man, I was there to stop the Kennedy assassination. Let me tell you my story. And you sure as hell, okay, let me back up here. Check this one out. 2 days before Rosselli was reported missing, I met with the FBI concerned about his safety and my safety, and was we going to be subpoenaed again? Sam Giancana had just been killed 9 months before. He was going back the second time to testify about assassination attempts on foreign leaders. I know we're running out of time here, right?
Yeah, we can go for you can
Anyway.
finish this up.
Okay, so anyway, I was concerned about my safety because I was going to be subpoenaed back to testify the second time, like Johnny Rosselli. So I made contact, asked the FBI, what can I do? Are they going to subpoena me again? I'm concerned, and I'm concerned about my friend, Johnny Rosselli. I was his pilot. I'd flown him all over the place, and we were good friends. And I was concerned about his safety, and I told him that. That was on July the 26th, 1976. He was reported missing by his wife on July the 28th, and his body was found in Dumbfounding Bay, stuffed in a 55-gallon drum with his legs cut off on August the 7th, August the 8th and 9th. The FBI came back out to me on the 21st of the night, the 21st. This is FBI files, by the way. On the 21st, asking me, what did I think? Who did I think killed Rosselli? And they wanted to know everything I knew about Rosselli, and they had pulled the Sam Giancana file, and they had pulled the church committee file, and found out that I had testified and drew a map in 1964 of triangulation shooting of Dealey Plaza. And they had classified that map. Why? So I'm sitting here looking at your camera saying, okay, release what Plumlee just said. Release the Epstein files. Release the classified files of Jonidas. Get it all out there. and let the American people decide what they're going to do about it. Lies, lies, and cover up. What's the reason? Guns, drugs, and women. Money, money, and money. Today as it was yesterday. And with that, I'll let you go.
Whew, that's a deep one. Can you let people know where they can purchase your book if you have a website or anything that you would like
I
to
don't have a
plug?
website, but in any bookstore now. It's in Amazon. It's up there in the first 100 right now. That's doing pretty good. I can tell it's going pretty good by the nature of the questions, of the comments that they're asking. Um, challenge the book. But the point I'm trying to make is do it yourself. Get off the couch, do your own research, follow the breadcrumbs that Ralph Pazulo and I. Ralph Pazulo has a lot more credentials on writing than I do. He's written about 5 or 6 books. This is my first book. The way things are going, it's going to be my last book. I, I don't give a damn about publishers and all that rat race and PR and talking to people. That's not my cup of tea. I'm a pilot. I pilot here, I pilot over there, I pilot where anybody wants it piled. But I don't get into all this kind of crazy crap of writing books and doing movies and playing with that Hollywood crowd. Not my game of tea. Rob Reiner was a good friend. I was on a couple of broadcasts of his. Dick Russell wrote the foreword for the book. And St. John, Howard Hunt's son, wrote the afterwards for the book. So, and I've known St. John since he was a little kid. And Howard Hunt and I were good friends, and his mother, Dorothy. Stories behind all that. Some of your listeners want to know what I'm talking about. We don't have time to go into all that. But anyway, so St. John Hunt and his daddy, he wrote Bond by Secrecy, and he wrote the afterwards for the book, Deep Cover, Shallow Graves. And his dad's mentioned in the book how he got to Dallas. It confirms the flight. The other part of the thing is that the flight plan, the aircraft ID numbers, and the fuel receipts signed by me on site, on location, are all classified in that 17,000 pages that I just made a plea for the Pentagon to release. They're reviewing them. Why the hell are they reviewing them? Just release them. And let the chips fall where they may. And
Well,
same thing with Epson files. Release them.
yeah, I think we need to get all of those. There's, I think, 2 million or another million more files that haven't been released. So hopefully we will get them. Hopefully we'll get your files. And if people are interested in purchasing your book, I'm going to put the link in the description for people to check out on Amazon Prime. And, just use your discernment and use your own judgment.
That's right.
What you think of Mr. Plumlee's testimony.
I appreciate you giving me the time to explain this on here. I'm sorry I went rambling. I wasn't. I just let it hang out.
That's good. I very much enjoyed it. For everyone else, thanks for watching and listening. Please be sure to hit the thumbs up button, help with the channel and the algorithm. Share, subscribe, hit the bell icon as well for notifications. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.